Mufasa's death traumatized an entire age group. For most of my generation, the stampede was the first death we ever witnessed on screen, and 30 years later, the wound still works. You can hear "Long live the king" and feel your stomach drop on command. Hold on to that grief, because this video is going to do something really uncomfortable with it. Because, yeah, you've heard the take. Pat, a dozen think pieces, even Disney's own 2024 villain all called this circle a lie. Kero sings it straight out.
This circle of life is a lie.
So it's old news, right? Except Kiros got it wrong. So did MatPat, and so did the think pieces. They all argued the destination. Hyenas oppressed circle of life is propaganda. From biology, from vibes, from cynicism. They found the room, but nobody found the door. Because the 1994 film doesn't just imply the lie. It confesses on screen in one word of law. The circle of life isn't nature's truth. It's a property regime's PR. The Pride Lands is a food monopoly, and the king is its administrator. The confession comes from the king's own majordomo teaching the heir what hyenas are.
Oh, young master, one day you will be king. Then you can chase those slobbering, mangy, stupid poachers from dawn until dusk.
Poachers. You cannot poach food that nobody owns. Wolves don't poach elk, sharks don't poach seals, a wolf that takes deer is nature. A poacher who takes a deer is a thief, and theft requires an owner. The moment that word leaves Zazu's beak, the delicate balance collapses into something else. Game that belongs to the crown, a border that works as a property line, and a starving population criminalized for eating. That word is the door nobody walked through, and this whole video lives on the other side of it. And it does cost us something to walk through because Mufasa is on the other side too. He's not a secret villain, I'm not doing that. And I'm not rehabilitating Scar either, his crimes stay exactly where the movie left them. Mufasa remains a genuinely loving father from his first frame to his last, and that's really what makes this hurt. The system he administers is guilty anyway, and the second truth hides inside the first. Everything here is in the 1994 film, nothing from the sequels, the remake, or the extended lore, and we start in the one scene where it drops the poetry and talks like a courtroom. Two cubs and a bird stand in an elephant graveyard, and 3 hyenas circle them. Everyone remembers this scene as the scary one. Almost nobody notices how it's written because from the first line, every character in it is speaking property law. Zazu realizes where they are.
We're way beyond the boundary of the Pride Land.
Boundary is a surveyor's word. Then the hyenas arrive and Banzai looks at the intruders and reaches for the exact same legal register.
Yeah, just what I was thinking. A trio of trespassers!
So the crown calls hyenas who eat poachers. The hyenas call lions who cross trespassers. 2 words with one premise. The land and the food are owned and crossing the line is a legal offense, never a natural event. Shenzi makes it jurisdictional.
Do you know what we do to kings who step out of their kingdom?
Simba scoffs that they can't do anything to him, and the king's own majordomo, the most establishment character in the film, concedes the point like a lawyer reading a deed.
Technically they can. We are on their land.
But Zazu, you told me they're nothing but slobbering, mangy, stupid poachers.
So the cub memorized the epithet, and that's what a slur does when it's taught at home. It comes back out of the child intact in public at the worst possible moment. And let's count what happened in just one scene. Boundary, trespassers, kingdom, their land, poachers. That's 5 legal and land terms from 4 characters on both sides of the conflict. The obvious objection, of course, is poachers is a throwaway insult in a kids movie, and it's just a Rowan Atkinson punchline, and I'm reading a legal brief into it. So look at who the writers gave the word to. Zazu is the film's precision diction character, the fussy court official whose whole comic identity is reaching for the exact term. When Simba doesn't know he's engaged, Zazu gives him the 3 synonym escalating in legal formality.
Betrothed. Intended. Affianced.
He introduces himself to the hyenas with a court title. When Simba tries to fire him, he cites the royal monopoly on employment.
Well, in that case, you're fired.
Nice try, but only the king can do that.
So when that character says poachers, the word is load-bearing by design. And watch what gets walked back in the graveyard because it's surgical.
Stay on the Upid stay.
Zazu retracts the insult. Only the insult, stupid, gets pig-Latined away for safety. No character in any scene ever disputes that the hyenas are poaching. The rudeness was negotiable. The property crime was not. On every insult available for a hungry scavenger, vermin, monsters, or savages, the film picked the one that names a property crime. And poaching historically is the crime of the peasant who takes the king's deer. So the food is owned. The border is the fence around it, and somebody taught a little kid a slur for the people on the wrong side, which raises the real question. Where did the property come from? The film shows you the deed being read aloud in the most beautiful scene it has. And really quick before we get to part 2, if this video is making you feel some kind of way about Simba, I get it. That little cub gets you every time. So if you want the soft version sitting on your desk, or you want to hand one to a kid who's about to fall in love with this movie, there's a little Simba plush link down in the description. It's a good one, it's cheap, and it ships out pretty quick. Grab it if the deal looks good right now. Alright, and now to part 2. Sunrise on Pride Rock, a father and son on the summit, the entire savannah gold beneath them. This is the warmest scene in the Disney canon, and it is also a real estate closing.
Look, Simba. Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Not our home or the land we share, a kingdom with the sunlight itself drafted as the property line. And in case we missed that this is a transfer of assets, the film makes it explicit.
And this'll all be mine?
Everything.
That's a will reading. The kingdom is taught to the heir as ownable and owned. The same lesson sets the rain itself into the sky. A king's time as ruler rises and falls like the sun. One day the sun will set on Mufasa's time and rise with Simba as the new king. Then Simba asks about the shadowy place and the warm scene grows a wall.
That's beyond our borders. You must never go there, Simba.
It's just a bare command with no reason attached. The border isn't a river or a herd route, it's just a decree. Now listen to how the doctrine gets taught.
Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. As king, you need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope.
It sounds like ecology, but notice the job title embedded in the middle of it. The balance comes with an administrator built in. Nature doesn't need a manager, property does. And check the membership roster in that sentence, recited by the doctrine's own author. Ants are in, antelope are in, and the roster has a hole in it shaped exactly like a hyena. That's the point of the border. Then comes my favorite moment in the whole film, because it's the only time anyone audits the doctrine on screen. A 5-year-old catches it.
Dad, don't we eat the antelope?
If the balance is real, explain the eating, and watch what the king does.
Yes, Simba, but let me explain. When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. And so, we are all connected in the great circle of life.
A question about eating gets an answer about dying. Someday, long after dinner, our bodies will be grass. It's beautiful, and it's also a dodge. And the dodge matters because the standard defense on every wiki, the hyenas were banished because they overhunt and don't respect the circle. That appears nowhere in the film. No character ever accuses the hyenas of overhunting, ever.
But I thought a king can do whatever he wants.
Oh, there's more to being king than getting your way all the time.
Mufasa doesn't deny the power. He says the job is bigger than the privilege. The power stands, and the crown polices its property in real time. Halfway through the morning report, the tone snaps.
Hyenas in the Pride Lands!
Zazu, take Simba home.
An alarm, a child evacuated, a king deploying alone mid-conversation. The one emergency this kingdom ever records is hungry animals inside the food supply, and the job Zazu promised Simba was chasing them full-time. In this film, that's what being king is. And enforcement runs in one direction. When Mufasa crosses into hyena land to rescue the cubs and beats 3 residents bloody on their own territory, here is the entire legal consequence.
That lousy Mufasa. I won't be able to sit for a week.
A sore backside and a punchline. Shenzi asked what they do to kings who step out of their kingdom, and the film answers her, nothing. The border binds only the hungry side of the line. That's to tell that this is a monopoly and never a treaty. A real border constrains both parties. Whoever signed this original decree, Mufasa is the one enforcing it from dawn till dusk right now. Who banished the hyenas in the first place and when? I genuinely don't know, and the film never says. So what does the wrong side of the line actually look like? The film tells us, and it's worse than barren. It's a place where dinner has to be delivered. The film ties eating to rank from its first spoken lines, Scar holding a mouse he's about to swallow.
Life's not fair, is it? You see, I shall never be king, and you shall never see the light of another day.
Unfairness, succession, and who gets eaten, fused into one thought before we've met a single hero. Moments later, Scar greets Mufasa by sneering about his big brother descending from on high to mingle with the commoners. Scene 1 in the movie has already told you this society has class strata. So when we finally get a sustained look at the class at the bottom, listen to how they describe their own position.
Look at you guys. No wonder we're dangling at the bottom of the food chain.
The food chain in this movie has a bottom you dangle dangle from. The characters themselves talk about eating in tears, and Shenzi names the cause.
You know, if it weren't for those lions, we'd be running the joint.
She's right. Their side of the line, the land Zazu concedes is theirs, has one advertised meal: trespassers. When your territory's menu is whoever wanders in, your territory has no menu, and the film proves it with a quietly damning detail. Scar arrives, and the first thing the hyenas ask their lion friend is this.
Hey, to bring us anything to eat, Scar? Old buddy, old pal, huh? Did you?
These are apex-adjacent predators in their own home territory asking a visitor if he brought food. Dinner gets imported by a lion.
I don't think you really deserve this. I practically gift-wrapped those cubs for you, and you couldn't even dispose of them.
And Scar is like an employer docking wages. The meat is payment for an attempted hit on 2 children, and the crime stays on the ledger. This theory doesn't launder anyone. The hyenas took a murder contract on cubs, and it stays monstrous. But look at what the contract paid in. When food is monopolized this completely, meat is money, and the one lion willing to spend it can buy an army. Hunger this total is the system's product. Scar is just writing the check, which is exactly how he sells the coup. His entire political platform, the promise that buys regime change, is one sentence long.
You will be king. Stick with me, and you'll never go hungry again.
There's no ideology, no revenge fantasy, no master race of hyenas. Dinner. The graveyard erupts into long live the king on the spot. You don't recruit an army with a meal plan unless the meal is the thing being withheld. And Scar sings the fine print out loud in a Latin contract term in a Disney villain number.
The point that I must emphasize is, you won't get a sniff without me.
He isn't promising to abolish the monopoly, he's promising to become it. The coup is a bread riot, a starving population weaponized by the one insider cynical enough to price their hunger. And before the stampede, one more beat. Bonsai is starving in the gorge, watching the wildebeest herd.
Can't help it. I'm so hungry. I gotta have a wildebeest. Can I just pick off one of the little sick ones?
No, we wait for the signal from Scar.
Now, try squaring that with the hyenas are greedy overhunters lore. The counter-argument never exists on screen. Anyway, there's a control group in this movie and it's wearing a comedy costume. The Jungle, the film's only society without a king.
We live wherever we want. Yep, home is where your rump rests.
No crown, no borders. And nobody starves in the jungle for the entire film. The film even ran the reverse experiment. Strip a lion of the kingdom and exiled Simba nearly dies within a day of crossing the border. When he wakes up demanding zebra, antelope, hippo, the answer is no, no, and no. The prince learns to eat grubs. Hunger in this movie isn't a species trait, it's a function of your distance from the throne. Then the state religion reaches this unconquered place. Simba shares the great kings of the past doctrine with someone raised outside of it.
You mean a bunch of royal dead guys are watching us?
What mook made that up?
Inside the borders, it's sacred, but outside, it's a punchline. That's what propaganda really looks like. So Scar takes the throne, the hyenas come in, and the Pride Lands die. And every rewatcher on Earth reads that as the film vindicating the border. The wasteland proves Mufasa was right to keep them out. Except the movie, line by line, refuses to say that. What it says instead is the single most damning thing in the whole case. The Pride Lands under Scar are starving, and the film explains why, in dialogue several times over. Every explanation is political. Start with the hyenas themselves reporting the crisis to the king they installed.
Scar, there's no food, no water.
This is the ecology defense dying on screen. The hyenas are the first ones starving, and overhunters don't starve next to their own kill. Scar's response, and Bonsai's answer, are the only explanation anyone gives in the scene.
It's the lioness's job to do the hunting.
But they won't go hunt.
The workforce refused. That's a labor strike. And notice the class structure survived the coup intact. Lionesses do the work, the king handles distribution, under both regimes. Even under a hyena-friendly king, the hyenas still don't hunt herds. They wait to be fed exactly like they waited for Scar's handouts. The dependency was the system's design, never their nature. And the strongest objection lives in Nala's mouth, so let's take it head on. She tells Simba this.
Simba, he let the hyenas take over the Pride Lands. What? Everything's destroyed. There's no food, no water. Simba, if you don't do something soon, everyone will starve.
So there's 3 things about that line. First, her actual accusation is a governance act. Scar let them take over. A decision by a king, never an appetite. Second, her own evidence doesn't fit consumption. Hyenas don't drink a kingdom dry. No water means drought, and drought is what moves herds. Third, and inside this theory this one lands hardest, Nala is Pride Rock's loyalist, carrying the court's version of events to the exiled heir. The hyenas ruined everything is precisely what the official story would say. The film gives her the accusation and then never stages a single frame of hyenas overhunting to back it up. And Sarabi, the closest thing to a coroner the film offers, files her finding to Scar's face.
Scar, there is no food. The herds have moved on.
It's departure, not depletion. Strike, occupation, departure, and drought. That's every stated cause in the film. The number of lines blaming hyena appetite is 0. The overhunting story got written into the fan wikis later because the official story needed it. What actually killed the land? Well, drought fits the dialogue best, but the movie never commits to any single one, and I can't prove which one is the right one. But what the dialogue rules out cleanly is the hyenas eating everything. And I suspect most of us, as children, probably absorbed the wiki version as kids without ever really hearing it. And here's the thing, the hyenas didn't even get the food. After the coup, under the king they bought,
Yeah, but we're still hungry.
the fine print from the song was the honest clause all along. Not a sniff moves without the king. The monopoly was never abolished, it changed owners, and then it defaulted on everyone. And Scar governs by the same constitution. The one time anyone says the word law in this film.
You know the law. Never ever mention that name in my presence. I am the king.
The film's one named law is a royal speech decree, enforceable by terror. The king's word backed by the king's teeth under both brothers. And now the mirror. Sarabi tells Scar the only sane thing left.
It's over. There is nothing left. We have only one choice. We must leave Pride Rock.
We're not going anywhere.
Then you have sentenced us to death.
Then so be it.
Everyone gasps at that line, but run the comparison. Under Mufasa, a hungry population locked out of the food by a border, and under Scar, a hungry population locked in with no food by decree. It's the same mechanism, but the compass is flipped, and the film only calls it evil when it happens to lions. The audience wept the second time and cheered the first. Sarabi even names the act in the vocabulary the film has been speaking all along. King's sentence, and when she pushes, Scar answers with the naked version of the principle.
I am the king. I can do whatever I want.
That's Cub Simba's sunrise line. Mufasa's correction back then was that there's more to being king than getting your way, a scope note from a good administrator, never a denial of power. The child's theory of kingship was accurate. Scar is just the version without the manners. Same throne, but a worse operator. The famine doesn't indict hyenas, and it doesn't ever fully indict Scar. It indicts a design where food is a crown asset, because that design is always one bad king away from mass starvation. Even the punishments rhyme.
Runaways.
Run away, Scar.
Run away.
Never return.
Never return.
Almost word for word the same sentence with the name swapped. Exile from the food is the dynasty's house verdict. The hyenas got it before the film began, then Simba, and then Scar. The most common civil status in this movie outside the royal family is banished. And in his last seconds, Scar reaches for the regime's oldest tool one final time.
It's the hyenas who are the real enemy. It was their fault. It was their idea.
So blame the poachers. It's the move the whole system runs on, and Scar performs it with the hyenas standing in earshot. They kill him for it. The scapegoat mechanism outlives every king who uses it, by seconds in his case. Then Scar falls and the sky opens, the fire goes out, and the land greens up under Simba. Every fan reading calls this the film's moral heartbeat. Divine right, the Fisher King, the land mythically loving its rightful ruler. And I'd wave it off as storm cliche, except the film codes the sky to the throne all the way through in spoken dialogue. The first lesson tied reins to the sun rising and setting. And when dead Mufasa manifests as clouds and wind to order his son home, the characters read the royal visitation as a forecast.
What was that? The weather. Very peculiar, don't you think?
Yeah, looks like the winds are changing.
Dead kings are weather. Regime change is wind. The movie speaks the equation out loud twice before the rain ever falls, and then films it. Listen to what Ghost Mufasa actually commands from the sky.
You must take your place in the circle of life.
In its own author's mouth, the circle is an org chart, and the seat he's ordering Simba into is the throne. So the reign at the coronation is the last biggest piece of PR in the picture, the sky itself endorsing the new landlord. Divine right or ecology, pick either fan reading, but both concede the weather takes the crown's side. And in the restored rain-washed finale, count the hyenas. The green came back, but they didn't. The final shot is the first shot, every species in the kingdom assembled at Pride Rock, bowing to regular newborn heir of the family that owns their food, singing their owner's anthem. The movie ends where it began because for everyone below the rock, nothing changed. So the word was poachers, the border was a property line, and both famines were policy, which leaves the only question that actually hurts. What do we do with Mufasa? And the answer is simple. Nothing. He stays. Every warm thing you remember about him is real. This theory never needed him to be secretly cruel. A monopoly doesn't survive on cruelty. It survives on a beloved administrator, a beautiful anthem, and a border everyone inside agrees is natural. Mufasa is a genuinely loving father, and the system he enforces starves the excluded. And both of those are true in the same frame. The sunrise lesson is barely over when the king's own majordomo, consoling the cub out of the savannah, teaches him the slur, gently as a promise of what kingship will be. And it plays his wisdom. Systems recruit good men precisely because good men make the system look like nature. The kindest king the food monopoly ever had is the reason 3 generations of us sang along with its anthem. And if this theory holds, the grief itself is the finale of the trick. The movie made an entire generation weep for the king, and in the same act handed us a legal word for the starving. We cried for the landlord, but nobody cried for the poachers. That asymmetry was manufactured. It's been sitting in your chest since you were 7, and it's still running every time you rewatch the sunrise. That's how good the anthem is. It also means the 2024 prequel is stranger than it looks. Disney went back 30 years on and gave the counter position to a villain and then softened it. Hero sings that the circle is a pretty way to say predators and prey. No law out here, only teeth. But the 1994 film had already shown the opposite. There is law in this world. Boundaries, jurisdiction, inheritance, a criminal category for eating while excluded, dawn to dusk enforcement, landlord and trespasser, never predator and prey. The original was more radical than the prequel built to answer it. It's easier to let a villain say nature is cruel than to let anyone say the food was owned. The franchise keeps assigning the doubt to monsters because it has to. The circle of life is the most valuable piece of intellectual property in the company's history, in both senses of the word, which leaves the rewatch you can't undo. Play the opening again, every animal in the savannah traveling to Pride Rock to bow at a ceremony, while the anthem swells about despair and hope and finding our place. You already heard a hymn. Now listen to the property line inside of it. The sun comes up, the light rolls across the land, and everything it touches belongs to somebody. Every kingdom has a speech about balance. Ask who owns the antelope, and you find out what the speech was for. And thank you so much for watching. If one small word cracking open a whole childhood is your kind of thing, subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from. And tell me in the comments whether you think I've spent too many nights out on the elephant graveyard, or better, go find the on-screen counter-argument for the gorge scene. I said it doesn't exist, prove me wrong. And the algorithm has already surveyed everything the light touches on your end screen and picked something it thinks you'll like, so go check it out.